Kia ora, hello and welcome to Chat Room. I'm Gemma Carroll. With me today I have Dr. Helena Popovic, and we're in the beautiful Municipal Theatre. You can see our lovely surrounds here. We're very lucky to have this wonderful venue in Napier City. Helena is here to talk to Napier today about boosting your brain and defying dementia, but probably we're going to talk a little bit broader about generally the way that you work. Helena, welcome. And
thank you
for
very
coming
much.
to talk to
it's
us.
It's a pleasure.
So what motivates you in your work that you do?
I love seeing the positive change in people. We've come to a place in society, I think, where we accept that surviving rather than thriving is the norm. Everybody's tired all the time. You know, tired and run down is the new normal. And I believe that we can get back to exuberance. And I have people say to me, you know, what planet are you from? Nobody feels exuberant. Everyone's run down, bogged down lately, or so stood down. It's just a fact of life. And I think my message is, it's not a fact of life. It's a collective choice that we as a society have made, that it's acceptable not to feel great and it's acceptable to feel tired all the time. And the real tragedy is we then forget that how it really feels to be vibrantly healthy.
So how does that revolve around brain work? Because one of your specialist areas is the brain, right?
Yes.
It is your specialist area,
Yes.
and the neuroplasticity of the brain.
Yes.
So how does that particular organ relate to overall wellness?
The brain is our control centre. Every part of the body follows the signals and the instructions sent out by the brain. You know, our hormones, our metabolism, our hunger, our food choices, our motivation to do things, it all starts with the brain. And I think the separation of mind and body is an artificial one. And I sort of link brain and mind together because we've now discovered through neuroplasticity, our thoughts and our emotions can change our brain and can therefore change our body. So it's all linked. Spirit first, mind follows, body belongs. That's the motto. And my second motto, which I've seen played out in my practice and my life, education is more powerful than medication.
Now that's interesting because you are a trained medical doctor.
Yes.
Trained in allopathic medicine.
Yes. So
how did you come to a point where you're working with what sounds to me like a holistic approach?
It's always been my belief. I read a lot about the philosophers too. So, you know, people like Descartes, who separated, you know, the mind and the body, and who said, look, you know, let the spirit and the mind be the dominion of the church, and let the body be, you know, the dominion of science. He only said that to save his life because he was being persecuted. So it's an artificial separation.
But something that was grasped hold of and exploded in popularity in the Western world anyway.
Yes, that's right. To me, it just never made sense.
So I guess what's interesting then is that if that is the Western approach to wellness, the other approach is Eastern and perhaps more indigenous and ancient kind of ways of wellness. Do we see a prevalence of dementia and mental health issues more in the West than we would in other parts of the world?
There is a lower incidence of Alzheimer's disease in India than there is in Western countries, but we're still not sure why.
Right.
This is why people are experimenting with turmeric, thinking it might be the diet. We're not sure why, but India's only just one example. Pretty much around the world there is dementia is rising, but that's because the population is ageing, but not necessarily the percentage of people with dementia is rising, because we're now realising dementia is as much a lifestyle-based disease as heart disease, diabetes, obesity. So let me give you one example of where there is a lower incidence of dementia, where there is a strong sense of community and connection with your fellow person. That's another characteristic of India. So I wonder whether that helps keep their dementia rates down.
Yeah, and when I was looking into a little bit of background info before the interview, I saw some of the statistics in New Zealand anyway. 60 to 70% of people who live in residential care are affected by dementia, forms of dementia. And then that made me question, is this the right way for elderly people to be living? Are they not getting that social connectivity in residential care that they might get if they were still with their family?
Their family's got to have time for them though too, so it's the quality of care as well. I think there's no easy answer. I think we need to start way before getting old to start thinking about taking care of our bodies, because dementia doesn't start, the process in your brain, the deterioration doesn't start when you're 50 or 60 years old. It can start when you're 30. So the three big keys, firstly, that will halve our lifetime risk of dementia are really basic. Number one, we've said social connection, having strong friends, even doing volunteer work, giving to other people. There's a fascinating study, sorry I digress, but a fascinating study in Africa where there was some ladies starting to show signs of cognitive decline. They were in their 50s and 60s. And they said, would you like to do some volunteer work in a local primary school? They scanned their brains at the start. They scanned their brains 3 months later. When they looked at their brains, there are actually structural changes in their brains, changes in blood flow that improved their cognition. They had better memory. They performed better in tests of whole range of things after they'd been doing 3 months of volunteering. Now, we don't have a logical explanation for why that is, except that I think it goes back to there's nothing more nourishing for the brain and the body than contributing to our fellow person. And I've seen that in Dad as well. He does Meals on Wheels volunteer work. He did it with 97-year-old Eric until Eric passed away. Eric was the driver, Dad was the runner. I used to do a runner when I'd see them, but no, he came back on a helper's high. His cognition, he was more upbeat, he was more engaged when he did his volunteer work. And I think that those fundamental human needs of giving to each other are paramount. So that's the first thing that will halve your lifetime risk. Friends.
So we should probably just pause for a moment and explain for the viewers who don't know this about you, but you are also a caregiver to your father.
Yes.
Who was diagnosed with dementia how long ago?
Oh, more than 10 years ago now.
Right, yeah.
And first Mum looked after him, then Mum died of lung cancer, never smoked, just one of those things. And then 6 years ago, when she died, I took over caring for Dad.
And he lives with you?
Yes, he does. And I've tried to do those three top things, the social connection. Secondly, 30 minutes of exercise a day halves our lifetime risk. Our sedentary lifestyles are killing us. They really are, and I'll talk about that in more detail in a moment. But just, it doesn't have to be flogging yourself at the gym, but walking, gardening, vigorous housework, dancing is a top choice because it stimulates you socially as well. It stimulates you mentally, learning steps, and it's physical. So put on your dancing shoes.
Great. They all sound like fun things.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about this after the break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Chat Room. I'm Gemma Carroll and we're here today in the Municipal Theatre in Napier City with Dr. Helena Popovic. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So we were talking about the various approaches for prevention and or rehabilitation of people that have dementia, right?
Yes.
So we'd covered social connectivity,
Yes.
physical exercise, and where were you going
The
next?
third one is ongoing, lifelong active learning. And that means continuing to give yourself challenges, whatever challenge means for you. So for instance, some people, it's crossword Sudoku puzzles. But the key is they're only good for you when you're not good at them. Once you get good at something, once you master something, give yourself another challenge. So for Dad, it was learning darts, jigsaw puzzles, dominoes. I mean, that's about the level at which I can challenge him. And it was finding that balance. I tried to sort of teach him computer games. That was way too hard for somebody with his level of dementia. But anything that's new, take up a new hobby, a new skill, an art, a craft. Music is an amazing one, and that's a subject on its own. Playing back music for people from the time when they were in their prime, actually seems to trigger memories and actually improve their functioning.
Yeah, but this is something not just for someone who has a diagnosis of dementia. This is something that we should be incorporating in our lives from early on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah, from your 30s, do things that make you come alive, that inspire you. If you've got a job that is boredom and monotony are poison for the brain. So if you've got a job that doesn't inspire you, either see what you can do to make it inspiring to you, to make it fulfilling to you, or it's worth putting in the effort and taking those risks to find something that will really fulfill you throughout your life.
So who are your audiences? Because really you need to be speaking to everybody, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, not just people who are over 60, the sort of cliche of who might be affected by dementia. Do you feel like you're getting your message out?
Slowly, yes. I really like to chip away at things. I'm a dripping tap until I wear wear people down in terms of this is what you really have to do. I guess I start with schools. I do speak to high school students about how to best prepare for exams, how to study more effectively. So, for instance, you know, what should you do the night before an exam? Not cram, get a good night's sleep. That is the most important thing. What should you do immediately before you sit for that exam? Do 30 minutes of exercise, even if that's just running around the block or walking or swimming or getting on a bike, and getting out in nature. Just get some fresh air, some sunshine and some greenery around you. If you've done that before the exam, that's an example of what I might tell students. I talk to teachers about how to engage students in the classroom, because that's all about how to engage their brains. Corporates, anyone at work, how to be more productive at work. And do you want to know the number one thing people need to do?
Sure.
And there are some companies in New Zealand doing it. Stand up every 30 minutes. Because people who sit for more than 11 hours a day have a 40% increased risk of early death. That's a huge increase from cancer, heart disease, stroke, complications of diabetes. That prolonged sitting for 11 hours. That might sound unreasonable, but unfortunately I know colleagues who drive for an hour to work, sit there for 8 or 9 hours, there's already 10 hours, drive another hour home, and then they're so tired from sitting all day they sit in front of the telly for another hour. That's almost 12 hours of sitting. That's the number one thing that will shorten your life.
Yeah, and that now is the way that children are schooled too.
Yes.
There's a lot more sedentary carry-on in schools.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
Everybody's using tablets and laptops in schools now, so there's quite a lot to fight against there,
yes.
right?
I think culturally we need to have a bell go off every 30 minutes at every workplace, and everybody just stands up. And it doesn't have to be wasted time. You can still make a phone call, you can still read, you can still tap away at your computer. And an industry is starting to build up where they're building standing desks or lecterns. So that's just one simple thing. Now, people say, why is sitting so hazardous? Because we don't get any electrical activity in our biggest muscles, our quadriceps and our glutes, and we need those muscles stimulated to clear fats and sugars from our bloodstream.
So they act like a pump for the body.
Yes, that's right. So, and even if you flog yourself at the gym for an hour a day, if you sit for the other 11 hours, unfortunately, it doesn't make that... It's still better than not doing exercise, but it doesn't counteract the negative effects of prolonged sitting.
That's important information.
It is, because people go, oh, no, I go to the gym for an hour a day. No, you still have to stand as well. The cutoff seems to be like, if you sit for 4 hours, you're a day, but again, broken up, that's okay. That doesn't seem to increase your risk. But anything above 4 hours, start to be careful.
So it sounds like your approach very much involves positive language, positive thinking, positive action. What do you do personally when something negative comes up? Because obviously we all experience some negative emotion or some crisis in our lives now and then. Something will happen sooner or later, right? So what's your sort of tips for dealing with negativity that comes up when you're trying to live in a positive way?
Firstly, what you said, I just said, look, this is life. Life is not always up. I remind myself that it's the negative experiences, the really hard times, that's when we grow the most. That's when we discover skills and strengths that we never knew we had. That's actually what connects us to people. You know, when we're vulnerable, when we're down, that's when we reach out to people more. Not everybody, some people withdraw, but that's actually what helps us relate to other people. If you've got somebody that's just never had anything go wrong, they just can't relate. So it actually ties us together, our hardships.
So those crises and those negative experiences or negative thoughts, whatever they may be, can actually be a gift, an opportunity.
That's how I view it. Now, yes, there are going to be times where I'm just sort of run myself down into a negative spiral, but I catch myself pretty quickly. A game I recently invented for myself, I was doing a long drive, and in fact I drove up from Wellington. I go through the alphabet and I list for each letter something I'm grateful for in my life. So I'm really grateful I live in Australia. I'd be equally grateful if I lived in New Zealand because they're both beautiful countries.
Especially Hawke's Bay.
Of course, because my parents migrated to Australia when I was 4 years old. So from the former Yugoslavia, Serbia. Had we stayed there, who knows what my life would have been. So that really anchors me, and I think, I sort of press the pause button and I go, really, in the big scheme of things, you know, I'm really lucky, regardless of what's going wrong.
You're making a choice there, aren't you? Because another person in that situation may choose to focus on the negative aspect of having been an immigrant, right? So there's choice involved, right?
Yes.
For negative or positive thoughts.
I think it becomes a habit. The way we view things really becomes a habit. But practicing gratitude, I can't emphasise that strongly enough. That's enormous. If you just pause and you go, okay, let's just pause, and in the big picture, what can I be grateful for?
Great, that's good. We're going to take another little break here, and we'll be back in a moment with Helena Popovic. Welcome back to Chat Room. I'm Gemma Carroll here with Dr. Helena Popovic at the beautiful Municipal Theatre, which is all fully busy and operating and getting ready for her seminar, which she's giving this afternoon. So if you hear any little voices or doors creaking or motorbikes outside, then you know we're live. Welcome, thank you. So we'd got to the point of talking about this positive approach that you have, this really vibrant kind of positive thinking, positive action, positive language. Can we just follow that line of thought a little bit more? You were talking in the break about
a fascinating study.
Yes, your study.
If anyone wants to look it up, Google Becca Levy, Levy, that's the researcher. Yeah. And they followed people as they were ageing for many, many years, and they looked at sleep, exercise habits, smoking, alcohol, diet, because they wanted to see what was the biggest factor that prolonged life. And they found, look, if you exercise pretty regularly, that immediately adds minimum of 4 extra years to your life. If you've never smoked, you've added another 4 years to your life. If you've had good normal blood pressure all your life, that's another 4 years. But do you know what adds 7.5 years to your life?
Tell me.
Having a positive attitude towards ageing. That was the most powerful predictor of living longer. And what that meant was they continued to set meaningful goals. They didn't focus on what they were losing. They were focusing in terms of ageing. Oh, I can't do this anymore. They were focusing on what they were gaining. You know, I no longer care so much about what people think. You know, I now have more time to pursue hobbies. I have more time to visit friends. Or they continued to do things that fulfilled them and that made them feel good and gave themselves positive reasons to wake up every morning. That will extend your life more than anything.
Exciting.
Yes.
So we have with us today your book as well, Neuroslimming, which came out last year, is that right?
Yes.
Should we talk a little bit about that for this final segment? What is the book about? What is the book for?
It's because so many people struggle so much with food. Everyone's confused about what they should be eating because there are so many contradictory messages out there. Should we be paleo? Should we be fasting? Should we be low carb? Should we be low fat? People are so confused. And so many people rob themselves of happiness because they loathe their bodies. They feel bad about themselves because they're not self-disciplined, they're not eating the right thing. So there was a real need there. Plus, many years ago, 30 plus years ago, I had an eating disorder, starting my teens. So I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be on the other side, to be very self-loathing, to have negative thoughts. I remember thinking, I can't run away from me, because I thought maybe I can just leave Australia and just travel and leave all this disordered eating behind me. And I thought, but it's in here. So having known that and having gone through that myself and having come out of the other end, I know what it feels like, and I know the difference between being miserable and being really happy when you finally know you can just trust your body to guide you. So my book, Neuroslimming, as the name suggests, is about changing your brain to change your body. And in a nutshell, I give people a mind plan, not a meal plan. And my focus is not on what you eat, it's why you eat and how you eat, because the why and the how will determine the what. And my central message is learn to tune into your own body and recognise what your body needs in any given moment.
So is there some autobiographical content in the book?
In a way, yes. I set out 28 missions. Rather than you're not going on a diet, you're going on a mission. And I give you 28 steps, if you like. Now, you don't have to do all 28 to lose weight, but because I run weight loss retreats back in Australia, if you'd like me to come. I have done one in Christchurch, and in fact, a woman from Christchurch wrote the foreword in the book because so far she's lost over 40 kilograms.
Wow.
She did how long ago now? Probably 18 months? Yeah, I think 18 months ago I came to Christchurch and did the retreat. So all I'm saying is it is autobiographical because I do everything that I say in that book. So it's obliquely autobiographical, and I do touch on my own struggles as well. So people know I've been there.
Yeah. So you're doing a lot in your life. You're a caregiver to your father. You've written 2 books already. You work not just with dementia, but in a broader spectrum really of general brain health and overall wellness. How do you manage to do all of this and stay so energetic?
Because I love what I do, number one. When we love what we do, there's that beautiful quote by Simon Sinek. Doing what you love is called passion. You know, doing what you don't like is stress. You know, so it's all about perspective. So I love what I do. So I'm really excited to get up and see what each new day brings. But secondly, I have a wonderful social support network. I have a wonderful partner who supports me. I have wonderful friends, and I have tapped into the supports around me. You know, Alzheimer's Australia, and a whole range of other support agencies.
And where do you see yourself sort of going forward? Like, do you have a particular avenue that you feel really strongly driven towards at the moment? Like, is dementia really, because of your personal experience, something that's your primary focus or not?
It's not my primary focus. It is sort of, because I'm looking after Dad with dementia, but no, I think it's about empowering people to know that there's so much they can do for themselves. It's that education is more powerful than medication message. I'm all for research because that's what's got us where we are today. But I think we need to focus more now on applying that research. We know already what will extend our lives. You know what will add 14 years to your life? If you do 4 simple things every day, and they're so mind-numbingly boring, people are going to go, what? Don't light up a cigarette. You've got to do all 4. You can't just pick one a day. You've got to do all 4. Don't light up a cigarette. As a woman, don't drink more than 1.5 standard drinks of alcohol a day. And as a man, don't drink more than 2 a day. So roughly 10 a week for a woman, but don't save all 10 up for the one night. Not a good idea. The third thing is eat at least 5 servings of vegetable and fruit a day. And the fourth thing is exercise for 30 minutes a day. Those 4 things, if you do them every day, you'll add 14 years to your life. So do you see how simple it is, and yet how many people do all those 4 things? I think the smoking, Australia and New Zealand get a big tick. We've done a great job there. The alcohol, we're not too bad. But I think it's the vegetables, the fruit and the movement that we're letting ourselves down on. So it's prioritising those things, and getting a good night's sleep is another one. So doing those simple things and getting the message out that these things do make a difference.
And it's a combination of both a physical approach and the positive thinking, the mental health.
Yes, I think very much do what you love. Spend your life pursuing what you love to do. Yes, we have to earn a living, but don't let that take over fulfilling yourself on a spiritual, I don't mean necessarily religious, but what my message is, don't starve your body, feed your spirit.
Great. It's been so lovely having you on the show, and I could go on for another half an hour really asking you lots of questions, but it is really time to say goodbye. Good luck with your seminar in Napier today, and enjoy the lovely venue we have at the Municipal Theatre.
Thank you.
Goodbye.